Hey guys, welcome back to Matthew's Ballistics. Today we're testing some more 338 Lapua. Two of the loads I've got today I'm testing with H50BMG, and then one of them I'm testing with a H4831. So this first one, all I'm doing is increased by 1 grain, so I went to 101 grains with the 285 grain ELD. And check the velocity, and then check hopefully the accuracy on it. Hopefully it does well. I forgot my magazine at the house, so I'm just going to single feed all these rounds today. $27.90. $28.42. And 28.27. So we'll go grab this target, take a look at it.
Looks good down there.
Alright, so moving on, I'm going to a 225 grain Barnes TSX. With this powder, we were having some stability issues with the 250 grain bullet, so I'm going to go to this even lighter bullet and see if it's still unstable, and then maybe I'm going to need to change to a different powder, but we're going to find out. It's 105 grains of H50BMG behind a 225 grain Barnes TSX. It's probably going to shoot a little bit high. 3,143 feet per second. Forty-four. Thirty-one 48. Three. Thirty-one 47. So really consistent velocity on this, but the grip size down there is not too great. So we'll have to go and take a look at it and put us up a new target.
Did you weigh one of them bullets?
Alright, so I'm going to shoot the last 5 rounds. This is where I changed things up a little bit. I'm still working on this 250 grain Alco bullet. And I've changed powders this time, went with H50BMG, and I brought, started this load at 85 grains, and I used the same seeding depth that I normally would. So we're going to see if it has some accuracy differences, and hopefully the grip tightens up, and hopefully they stabilize a little better with this powder. That's what I'm planning on. If not, then I guess we're going to keep trying, keep testing new things. $2,827 feet per second. $2,851.
Whoa.
42. And 2850. So we'll go grab this target and take a look at it.
Well, them damn sure wasn't pushed right.
Okay guys, so it's been a few days, or actually been 2 days since I actually went out and shot the 338 Lapua since I figured out the problem with it and I retightened the scope base. Totally my bad. This whole time I've been chasing an ammunition problem that was non-existent, and it was just an issue of the scope base it was tight enough that you couldn't tell that it was loose, but it was loose enough that it was throwing, affecting the scope zero, and it was throwing the rounds all over the target. So I fixed that, retorqued everything down after I completely took the rifle apart, retorqued it all back together, Loctite everything, and we are back to shooting at least good groups. We're not shooting great groups, but we're shooting good. We're back down into the half MOA area. So, got a couple targets I'm going to analyze, and the first one I'm going to show you guys. There are 2 different rounds being shot on this target at 2 different loads, and I will get into explaining how that went. But for the majority of this, for this first target, you're going to want to focus on this 5-shot group right here. These are all 285 grain ELD-Match bullets. And this was the first shot of the day, was this guy up here, the highest one. And that was my cold bore shot, and then one more, and it was still kind of warming up, and then obviously it dropped the next 3 shots right here, which this is a half MOA or less, half minute group or less right here, under half an inch from center to center. So really good. And that was with the Hornady 285 grain ELD-Match bullet. And that load here, I'm going to go ahead and turn over and look in the book. I'll let you give you guys a little bit of the data on that one. This one was the 285 ELD-M. The trim on the brass was 2.715 inches, which is the maximum I can run in my chamber before it causes any interference issues. I was using some old PPU brass that was actually given to me as a freebie a couple weeks ago. My cartridge overall length was 3.706 inches. That is not my typical COAL, but that's the COAL I used for this load. And I used a Federal 215 Magnum primer, and the powder I was running was H50BMG from Hodgson, and I'm running 101.0 grains. So according to the Kestrel, our altitude was 581 feet, barometric pressure was 29.29 inches of mercury. As far as the altitude goes on the Kestrel, it calculates altitude based off barometric pressure. So really the altitude is, it's really not important at this point. But the barometric pressure is very important as far as like being able to calculate for further range using this load. So Barometric pressure 29.29 inches. Mercury. Temperature was 74.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity was 87.5%. This was at 9:30 in the morning, and the date was 9/25/2020. So average velocity was 2,826.4 feet per second. We had an extreme spread of 52 feet per second. So there's your 52 foot extreme spread. And actually, this first round was the slowest round at, not sure why it was the highest impact, but it was the slowest round at 2,790 feet per second. And the fastest round was 2,842 feet per second. So a little bit of an interesting thing there. But yeah, obviously we're back to shooting at least half MOA as long as I can get my extreme spread a little bit lower. A lot of people worry about standard deviation within their extreme spread, but I personally think that if you have the extreme spread low enough, your standard deviation's obviously going to be lower than that, and therefore I try not to worry about it. It more or less, it overcomplicates things when you're loading, so I really only focus on extreme spread and velocity. So after that, we're going to get into, just for fun, I decided to load some 225 grain Barnes TSX bullets, and these are actually pretty cool. I loaded them with at a COAL of 3.637 inches because they were engaging the rifling at that point, and it was really hard to close the bolt. But 105 grains of the same powder, H50BMG. This was the same day, just a little bit later. Barometric pressure, same, 29.29. Temperature was 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity was 84%. The time of day was 9:45 a.m. Same date, 9/25/22. The average velocity was 3,147 feet per second, and the extreme spread from the highest velocity to the lowest velocity only varied by 10 feet per second. So on not this target, but this target, this is what I'm talking about. These were the 225 grain bullets. So only 10 feet per second spread. So you can see that the vertical spread's very small, and that would have to do with velocity a lot. Also, bullet design. It's a 225 grain bullet, so it's shooting higher than the 285s. Obviously, it's going quite a bit faster, about 300 feet per second faster or so. Yeah, 10 foot per second extreme spread on this. So they weren't very precise, but still accurate. Like, you know, this is still within the killing zone at even pretty far ranges, I would say. We're gonna, you know, me and my dad talked about, this one's probably a flyer, and this is really the group here. But yeah, that was the 225 grain Barnes TSX, and we're getting a velocity of about almost 3,150 out of it at 105 grains of powder. So really cool, really interesting. I've got, I don't know, 40 more of these bullets that I'm probably just going to load up and stick them back for, who knows, I may have to hunt with this rifle one day. I hope not, because, you know, it weighs over 20 pounds. I really don't want to tote it around hunting-wise. So back to this target, though, I decided I didn't have enough targets to separate all the groups out, so I went back to this one, and we went to the 250 grain Alco bullet. The OAL on this load was 3.753 inches, which is like the max that I can run in my magazine. I think is 3.755, so backed it back just a little bit so I knew it would feed reliably. But I changed the powder. I went to H4831. The reason why is previously I've had issues being able to stabilize these bullets, and after talking to Bill at Alco Bullets, and he's the guy that actually makes these by hand, he works all the tooling, makes the bullets. Him and a couple other guys were talking about using a faster burning powder because it's such a lighter bullet, and it's a 250 grain bullet. So using the faster powder, I went and used some H4831, and basically I used a charge off of a forum that I'd read. I started at 85 grains of powder, and the pressure was there, but wasn't quite overpressured, so it could go up some in powder charge from 85 grains, but I wouldn't expect it to be more than like 87 grains. You'd be maxed out. But at 85 grains, we got we were at this point at a temperature of 79.1 degrees. Humidity was 72.1%. This is at 10 a.m. Same day, 9/25/22. Average velocity was 2,835.8 feet per second, and our extreme spread was 29 feet per second. So really good extreme spread. It's pretty low. It's under 50 feet per second, which is where I like to be. It's, to me, in my opinion, shooting, loading a lot, unless you're neck turning your brass and weighing each piece of brass and primer pocket uniforming and all that stuff, focusing on getting your loads under 50 feet per second extreme spread is going to drive you nuts. So unless you're putting in all the extra effort to get it there, just trying to load it to that based on powder charge and bullet seating depth is going to drive you nuts. There's a lot of other factors you're going to have to manipulate to get it, to be consistently low. So 29 feet per second spread on this was really good for me. And the only thing is, though, when you look at the target, our horizontal extreme spread is really wide, and our vertical extreme spread is not great as well. And if you really look at this target, and this was, of course, I duct taped the corners onto another piece of coroplast or whatever. It's a expanded plastic backing or whatever. They make billboard signs out of it, but it's called coroplast, and makes really good target stands. But with this over that duct tape to it, you could actually tell that there is different angles for each one of these bullets going through this and then through the backing behind it that was, give or take a 1/4 inch thick. So you could actually tell that there's some angle if you look closely at it. And so these bullets are still not stabilizing great. I'm really happy with the vertical dispersion is very small. That's great, but the bullets are still, they're not stable. They're not stabilizing in my rifle, even with a faster burning powder. And that was what Bill and a couple of guys are talking about, is using a faster burning powder for it. They were thinking that, hey, the typical powder you use like Rotumbo or H1 or 50BMG powder or US 869 that I've tested these with, is that maybe it's burning too slow and it's not stabilizing the bullet fast enough. But on the other hand, with the 225 grain bullet that's even lighter, using the same H50BMG, this group is quite a bit better than that one. and I hate to say it, I really do. Like, I have really high hopes for these Alco bullets. I mean, they look good. As far as weighing them, they are within a couple tenths of a grain of each other for 50 bullets, you know, in a box. Like, they're extremely consistent. But I don't know. There's just maybe it has something to do with the design, the shape, and the profile of the bullet is it's just not stabilizing in my rifle. And the rifle I'm using is a Savage Elite Precision 110. You know, it's got a really heavy contour barrel. It's 30 inches long, and then it's in an MDT chassis and whatnot. But it was made for precision shooting, long range, but these bullets, I don't know that they're stabilizing properly in the barrel. You know, it's a 1 in 9 twist. Or maybe they're over stabilizing. We don't know. We haven't gotten to that point of exploring this project. So I'm really glad that Bill's reached out and he's got some other people testing the same bullets, and it's just not, you know, not just me trying to do it, because it helps out when you're designing a bullet or getting into designing a bullet if you've got multiple different rifles to shoot it from, with different types of rifling and different rifling twists, to see how it actually does. Because you can run it through virtual programs all you want and get a, you know, computer based solution for your firing or whatever, but until you actually fire it through a rifle, you really don't know what it's gonna do. So I'm glad that he's working with some other guys trying to figure this out, because I want to. Like, these bullets are super cool, and they're super consistently made. I haven't brought one out in a while to like show you in person, but this is it. They're rebated boat tail ultra low drag bullet. And for a 250 grain bullet, this has a G1 ballistic coefficient of 0.715, I believe is what they say it is. So, or 0.717, sorry. So, really high ballistic coefficient for that weight class of bullet. I don't know. Maybe we can figure something out. I hope so in the near future, but I'm not going to try to drag this out any further. If you guys have watched and stuck with me up to this point, I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe hopefully one or two of you guys got some input to some insight to lend us, or some advice, and please leave that in the comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. This has been Matthew's Ballistics.